Representative Shapiro, thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us for a few minutes. And
good to be back with you, Steph.
We're going to talk about a very important topic and a very timely topic in Pennsylvania right now. And this is the statewide ban, proposed ban for the use of handheld cell phones while driving. And you have been a long-time advocate for this cause. And this is one that dates back here. I have you first introduced legislation regarding it in 2006. So let's start off quickly explaining why you got involved in this issue.
Well, I first introduced the bill because I thought it just made good public policy sense. And we had about 12 co-sponsors at the time and couldn't even get the bill up for consideration out of committee and on the House floor. And since that time, we have grown in the number of co-sponsors and supporters of this legislation. Groups that had been opposing us in the past are now supporting us. And it's become, to me, more than just a public policy issue. This has become personal. I mean, I was hit from behind while driving by someone talking on her cell phone. I've gotten stories of death and injury on Pennsylvania roadways attributed to the use of these handheld cell phones and texting while driving. So this becomes something that's personal. Mm-hmm. People want to see this happen. Pennsylvanians, as you said, are incredibly in favor of it. So we went from having 12 co-sponsors and not being able to get the bill up for consideration to now having nearly half the House Democrats and Republicans co-sponsoring it, and we passed the bill in the House of Representatives 189-6. And
it's pretty overwhelming, to say the least.
You know, many things happen here in a partisan way. Very few things happen in a bipartisan basis. This was bipartisan. It was a strong vote, and the bill went over to the Senate.
Now, this has been a four-year battle, so to speak. Is it partly because it's a sign of the times that within this last 4 years since you've introduced it the first time, there's a lot more access to a lot of more electronics that you can have in your car? The iPhone wasn't even in,
right.
A reality at that point. You know, things like this. Are we trying to change with the times and keep up with them with a bill like this?
You know, distracted driving was a problem 4 or 5 years ago, and probably just as much of a problem then as it is today. But there's much more awareness today. There's certainly been a proliferation of these smartphones. I mean, phones can do so much, and there's such a temptation to grab them while you're driving. And the reality is, I don't know that I've ever seen an issue change from a public perception standpoint in such a relatively speaking short period of time as this. We know that the dangers exist. We know that something needs to be done to save lives in Pennsylvania. And we know that we've already passed legislation to do that. I mean, we will literally save lives as a result of the bill that passed in the House of Representatives. Now, what the Senate did is a whole different story, but we in the House took a good, tough, strong stand on that.
Let's go there for a second. What the updates recently, what the Senate has done. Let's talk about one group of individual drivers. Let's talk about teen drivers here for a second. Any driver is at risk when you get in a car of being in an accident for whatever reason.
Sure.
Let's talk about the issue of teen drivers and cell phones in their cars.
Right.
Where can we go with that? What's the latest that's happened with that, and where do you stand on that issue?
Well, we passed part of the comprehensive package we sent in the House, limited the number of passengers teens could have in their car to one, said that they would have a total ban on cell phone use, texting or talking unless there's an emergency, and required additional training. And then most importantly, we ensured that this would be a primary offense, meaning a police officer could stop a teen if they saw the teen was, say, texting while driving. The idea behind the stop is you want to stop the accident from occurring. You want to stop the injury from occurring. Well, what did the Senate do? The Senate decided to express the most incredibly egregious amount of political tone deafness that I've ever seen in Harrisburg. Really, really shocking. They sent back a bill that made it a secondary offense, meaning you'd have to actually have the accident and then you'd get fined.
It's basically like our seatbelt law right now. Yeah. You can equate it to that. We're going to be pulled over just for that.
Yes and no. Yes, in that it's secondary, but no, in that if you're not wearing a seatbelt and you get in an accident, you've hurt yourself. Whereas if you're texting while driving, whether you're a teen or an adult, and you have an accident, you're hurting someone else. That should not be a secondary offense. We should stop the accident from occurring, and that's what we did in passing the legislation we did in the House overwhelmingly. And the Senate just really, I think, demonstrated a lack of understanding of the real dangers that exist on Pennsylvania's roads.
So very quickly, where do you think we have to go from here? What's next?
We in the House need to reject the Senate version, insist on our language, and work on a compromise. The compromise needs to save lives. There is room to compromise, and hopefully we'll be able to find that.
Okay, Representative Josh Shapiro, good luck. I want to thank you once again for joining us.